This presentation includes forward-looking statements that are subject to risks and uncertainties. Actual results may differ materially as a result of various risk factors, including those described in the 10Ks, 10Qs, and 8Ks VMware files with the SEC. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sanjay Poonen.
Woo! Can we give it up for Andrew Martinez and the band? Woo! All right, good. Good morning, VMworld Barcelona. I hope you're having a great conference. I told Pat Gelsinger if my software career fails, I will start a blues band in San Francisco, okay? Just don't make me play country music, because you know what happens when you play country music backwards. You get your truck back, you get your dog back, and you get your wife back. So, nonetheless, but we're here to talk about digital transformation, and I couldn't be more excited to start off today talking about the way in which the digital transformation is affecting the end-user workspace. If you think about the first revolution was all about making sure that you could get the steam engine working well. The second industrial revolution was about getting automation of processes, industrial revolution. The third was about electronics and ultimately the computer. And the fourth revolution we think is going to completely transform our lives, because at the core of it, you have the digital transformation of mobility. And you take a couple of various different sectors. For example, in education, the way in which students are learning today has been fundamentally transformed. I've got a 10-year-old girl and twin 6-year-old boys. And the way in which they learn today in the Silicon Valley of Santa Clara is being transformed through Khan Academy. They watch videos in the afternoon and the evening, and they come to the classroom and have a discussion. They probably learn to pinch and zoom before they learn to read and write. Healthcare is another industry that's been fundamentally transformed through the digitization. X-rays can now be digitized. If you think about the way in which a doctor could transcribe a prescription, send that all the way to a pharmacy, share information with other doctors in a very secure fashion, fundamental transformation. If you think a low-tech industry like a zoo, okay, I was at the Santa Barbara Zoo and I was talking to the zookeeper, and he told me that all the animals are digitized now, okay? Not just the elephant, every flamingo has got an RFID tag. So we're here in a place where now every possible thing can now also be digitized. And as we think of VMware's proposition in this digital transformation, you heard this yesterday, and there's two parts of the story of VMware that come together. Digital transformation of the data center, preparing it for a public cloud world, and digitization of the end-user workplace, preparing for an increasing mobile world. So everything can be viewed from the lens of mobile cloud. I was very gratified as I talked to people after yesterday's keynote. They said, when we came here last year, your cloud strategy sort of seemed cloudy. But here, yesterday, you heard a very crisp explanation of how VMware's proposition plays out in an increasingly public cloud world. And what I want to do today is walk you through how that proposition plays out for any app on any device, the green part of this diagram. Several years ago, when we began this transformation of end-user computing, we were just a tiny business, a few hundred million, 10,000 customers. We are now 66,000 customers of end-user computing, over $1 billion business, thanks to much of what you folks have all done with us. How many of you here are customers of VMware end-user computing? Horizon, AirWatch, Identity, that's great. Anybody here using Citrix, Mobile Iron? Good. It's okay, a few hands, you know, I'm not going to hold it against you. Come and talk to me at the end of my keynote, and I'll make sure by the end of my 20 minutes your mind has changed. But this is the world in which we live in now, where the combination of this blue and this green come together in what we describe as any app on any device. Let me spend a few minutes explaining that in a little more detail. When you think about the world of any apps, we think our research has shown that you could divide them into three camps: Windows client-server apps, web applications, and mobile native. We would love the entire world to be HTML5 and mobile native, but there's still a good part of the world that's client-server applications. We estimate about 40% is in category 1, Windows apps, 50% in the web category, some of them still running on an old browser, and 10% are native mobile. On the right-hand side, you've got a set of devices, which are increasingly of three kinds: the Apple world, iOS and Mac; the Google world, Android and Chrome; and increasingly what will become Windows 10. And to bring this world of any app on any device, you need a Switzerland type of player. That's what VMware's proposition is, to bring a Windows app potentially running on a Mac, a web application, HTML5, and we bring together 3 ingredient technologies in Workspace ONE. It's sort of like baking a cake. When you think about a cake, you probably have flour and eggs and sugar or milk as your 3 ingredients. VDI, potentially, EMM, mobility, and identity are the 3 ingredients that are in Workspace ONE. And it saves you having to go and buy those technologies separately and stitch them together. We've integrated them to one holistic solution, and we've taken the proposition to be cloud first. We're one of the businesses inside VMware that's been cloud first in everything we've done. Not to say we can't run on premise, but we take a cloud first philosophy. So as you think about this, we work very closely with many of these key ecosystems to make sure we work very well in all of their environments. Apple had a big presence at our show. Samsung and Google had a big presence here. The entire Microsoft ecosystem also plays together. And the core goal is to ensure for those of you who are users and want choice, and for those of you who are IT and want control, you can bring choice and control together. Users want the aspects of consumer simplicity. IT wants enterprise security. We bring these 2 worlds together. And there are 3 core parts of what we're going to be describing very quickly today. It's an apps and identity layer that brings it all together. Identity is the new perimeter, very, very important. Desktop and mobile, management and security. Probably the best way to describe apps and identity and the way in which we use this is to look at how VMware uses Workspace ONE inside our own environment. We have 20,000 employees who all have rolled out Workspace ONE, and this has fundamentally transformed the way in which we work. So let's actually roll the demo and watch how we use this solution today. So I've got my iPhone here, and what I'm going to do is now launch into Workspace ONE. You'll notice here on my phone, I've got Workspace ONE, single touch, Touch ID. I've logged in here, and I have access to all the 400 apps we have at VMware. You saw ADP and Aetna. You may have Oracle and Concur. You scroll down a little further, you'll see SAP and Salesforce. We have 400 different applications, a combination of Windows, web, and HTML5. I'm going to take a particular application, for example, Workday. And you'll notice now as I launch Workday, I don't have to log in a second time. A single sign-on, I get access to all of my HR information there simply and easily on my fingertips. We could pick up another application that has also built app config, native integration to AirWatch. This is BlueJeans, a very creative content collaboration, high-fidelity video on your phone. Again, you see how simple and easy that was. A significant part of our time that you told us is spent on email. In fact, the average research has shown that people take their phones out of their pocket about 100 times a day and use it for about 100 seconds. In my case, I might be a little bit worse. But we want to make that experience where you're communicating so easy and simple. And many of you said you like the security of solutions like Good and BlackBerry, but they were too hard to use or too complex. So Boxer, our email environment here, is just beautiful. It's a beautiful consumer-like experience. You notice here swipe gestures to be able to take care of emails in a very simple fashion. I might have an email here. Here's an email from Sumit and my team. As I reply, it's actually prompting me on my calendar for available slots and showing me exactly the slots that are open. And when I reply back to Sumit, those calendar slots are there ready to go. It's just giving me more productivity. I look for other emails in my inbox. Maybe here's an email from Rory. I'm going to put that in my junk folder. Sorry, Rory. But here is another email potentially from Pat. Pat happens to be my boss. It's doing analytics to detect that those perhaps need to go in a special folder. Here's a folder called Pat. We can take this a step further. Here's an example where I have an email from a CIO, Shelley Collins. It's gone into the Salesforce system to understand that I now have an action I can take from that Salesforce system connecting to my email box. We can take this a step further, and what we've done here now is with our analytics capability, you'll see this coming in a future release, we're using Google machine learning where I can now say, what are my top 5 sales opportunities in the pipeline? And you'll find me now being able to detect that using voice recognition.
Hello, Sanjay Poonen. Here are the opportunities based on your filters.
Again, searching Salesforce, I can now drill into one of them, pick up a particular rep, Anthony Wilson, find out where he is in the organization, in the hierarchy, and call him directly. You see all of that simple and available. Let's take content, documents. You want to make sure your documents are in a variety of different stores. It might be Google Drive, it might be OneDrive. Here you'll notice Content Locker organizes that content. I can pick up a particular document here. Here's a document from one of my partners, Sky High. I'm able to simply and easily open that document, potentially even highlight text, and then save it back in a secure repository. I'll show you one final example of how we actually bring this together. How many of you look forward to filing your expense reports? Right? Great job that you all look forward to, or you fortunately may have an assistant who helps you with that. Let's make the expense reporting system one where you've collected all of these workflows in sort of what feels like a bucket list, okay? And here you'll notice we've built a vApprove application. IT built this really fast. And here we have ways by which, in simple gestures of approve or reject or route this, you notice you can approve your expenses or any workflow in a simple, easy fashion. This is the way in which VMware uses Workspace ONE every single day. And if you are a VMware employee, okay, or a customer, I want you to go up to any VMware employee and ask them to show you Workspace ONE on their phone or on their iPad. And if they can't do it, you send me an email with their name, okay? Okay, maybe my microphone's not working. Again, send the email with their name, and either we got to find a new employee for that job or do a better job of training. But this is the way in which we've transformed our life, and we've seen this now not just in an iPad. Here's an example of a Samsung tablet. I'm on this Android tablet going to open up Horizon Air and launch a Windows application, okay, with fancy 3D graphics, okay, and all of this great capability now on an Android tablet. This is now VDI back on the server or in the cloud deployed. So we have lots of great customer case studies doing this. I thought to first now roll a customer video of Siemens and Deutsche Bahn and their success stories using our solutions. Let's roll the customer video.
These two industry leaders are reimagining delivery of applications and services with VMware end-user computing.
Siemens Wind Power is a division in Siemens AG. We are producing wind turbines. The challenge we were facing is a global workforce who needed access to multiple workstations at the same time. We are using VMware View to give the user access to Siemens NX, Siemens Teamcenter, so they can make their CAD drawings around the world and have them work together regardless where they come from, and still keep the security and the data placed in Denmark.
Deutsche Bahn AG is a government-owned company. We have around 340,000 employees worldwide. Our main challenge was that we had an outdated IT infrastructure. We have a wide range of customers, from office staff to maintenance workers to train drivers. And all of them had different requirements. In response to all of this, we choose VMware AirWatch. By using the VMware solutions, we could reduce the operations cost per applications for our customers by 75%. Our goal is to enable the user to pick up a Windows 10 device and have it fully functional in less than an hour without any help desk support. This allows the IT administration team to reduce the support and focus more on innovation.
Can we give a hand to those customers? That's a great piece of video, and it's now my honor to actually bring another customer on stage. As you probably know, we've got sports paraphernalia, and here we got Søren Schmidt from Adidas. Welcome to VMware and VMworld, and thank you for joining us. We brought some good props. Maybe you can, without injuring any people, get this to some of our customers. You want to throw it in this direction? I'm going to probably kick it this way.
Sure.
All right. Maybe anybody here want a shirt, Adidas shirt?
Take care.
All right. Make sure you don't get hurt. All right. Good. Thank you.
There we go.
Søren, it's been a pleasure to actually work with you, and maybe there's a lot going on at Adidas. You're one of the great brands of the world. Tell us what's going on at Adidas, a little bit of the company.
Yeah, of course. And I think everyone knows Adidas, right? So the brand with the 3 stripes. So I think I want to share something up front. I think you know our products, and there's something I want to start with is we believe at Adidas that sport has the power to change people's life. Right, that's at the core of what we're doing, and it's kind of from there we start, right? So if you get healthier, you have fun. So sport is really at the court to
awesome.
have a better life. Right?
And we've been doing a lot together in that whole idea of bringing sort of user experience and mobility. Let's talk a little bit about our mobile experience together. What have you been doing in mobility?
So in mobility, I mean, we have started like 2004 with BlackBerries, then 2011 an iPhone, and then we started with 2 years later then with mobile device management back then. And it's kind of a challenge, right? I think many of you would know that. And so usability was not there, the technology was not really mature, so we really had to change our platform. And so for the workplace, it's very important, and also for our retail business, to have a stable platform, right? So then last year, we engaged with AirWatch, with you guys, and we learned that, yeah, there's a strong platform available, and we leveraged that to basically this year launched our World of Apps for our employees, and we are just also rolling out into the retail store a brand new mobility platform.
So awesome.
That's really great.
We're excited to have you here. Thank you so much for taking time. Soren Schmidt just actually had a baby, so we're just happy to have him here at the conference. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Soren Schmidt from Adidas. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. So you get the sense, folks, now the greatest brands in the world are using our technologies, whether it's, in this case, Adidas, standardizing on AirWatch. And what we've done with the desktop and mobile categories is innovate like never before. Fusion and Workstation. Anybody here Fusion lovers? Good, lots of hands raised. This is the roots of the desktop products. We're delighted to offer just this week, okay? Just make sure that if you're here at the conference, you download the app, you'll get a free version of Fusion, okay, that you can use. Just make sure you don't go and resell this on eBay, okay? But nonetheless, so you can get a free access. Anybody here excited about a free version of Fusion? All right. So that's a good example of where we've been innovating to really take advantage of cost and complexity. And that's the core aspect of what we believe we can take away from the way in which VDI technologies have been deployed today. With a next-gen user experience, stateless desktops, and doing this now in ways that will allow you to do this whether it's on-premise or in the cloud. Our partnership with IBM Cloud has allowed us to now bring this into whole new sets of data centers. One of the things you've also been asking us as customers is to innovate the business application, Skype for Business, inside a Horizon VDI context. So it's my pleasure to introduce our next guest in our partnership with Microsoft, but I thought, what better way to do this than actually do this through a Skype for Business phone call and a video call with Raj Gopalkrishnan, the CTO of Skype for Business from Microsoft, talking here to our EUC CTO, Sean. Let's play the Skype for Business video.
Hello, Raj, and thanks for taking time to speak with me today.
Thanks, Sean. It's great to be here. It's been a busy time at Microsoft. Today, about 3 billion minutes of calls go over our Skype network every single day. Our growth in meetings has made us the #1 provider with over 1 billion meetings every year. Many of our customers have expressed a strong interest in support for Skype in virtual desktops and apps. Microsoft is equally excited to enable partners such as VMware to build a solution that meets our joint customer needs.
Thanks, Raj. I'm thrilled to show you that this solution is operating inside of a Horizon virtual desktop today. Thanks again, Raj, for your partnership and commitment to delivering a world-class offering for Skype for our mutual customers.
Thanks, Sean. We look forward to our continued partnership.
Can we give a hand to Microsoft and our great partnership with Raj Gopalkrishnan and the Skype for Business team? That's the type of partnership we seek with all of our key players, and we've been innovating. We're fortunate to see the analysts now recognize us as the leader, leapfrogging traditional legacy players in the VDI space. We've been doing the same, for example, in mobility, with 2 S's here, simplicity and security. Maybe if you came to the conference 4 years ago and you looked at mobility, everything was about device management. We've changed that view now to make identity as the core of what we start off every conversation. And in mobility, we've also been very fortunate to have the analysts now rank us. This is the gold and silver and bronze medal. You see here VMware stretching itself and gaining more and more share from the top 3 players. Gartner also rated us now the undisputed leader, both on execution and vision. For the first time in the history of mobility, 1 player is at the top right, and we're very, very grateful for your partnership. The ecosystem. Not just customers, the ecosystem is now also all standardized. I talked about Apple and Google and Samsung and Microsoft embracing this. The apps vendors, when we did VMworld US, I had Salesforce on stage. SAP was at Connect conference 2 weeks ago. We're integrated with Office 365, which I'll show in a second. The security vendors are also embracing us. Just last week, Symantec announced that they are going to be partnering with AirWatch as their preferred mobility management solution, and us with them in security. Palo Alto Networks did the same thing last year. So we're seeing the entire industry embrace us as the standard for mobile management security, but also for the VDI space. And as we do this, we've extended these capabilities also into IoT, where you'll see us bringing the combination of VR Ops, vRealize Ops, and AirWatch into a control center. And if you go to our booth in the IoT Pavilion, you'll see many of this at work with some great partners like Dell and IBM. Now, the other final aspect is management and security brought together. Because when you think about the world of how you manage devices, whether it's all the way from a desktop to a laptop to a tablet to a phone, or maybe even a vending machine, you've got to have a unified endpoint management strategy. And this is something that we've pioneered. So that whether you start with an iPhone and you end up with a Windows 10 or a Chromebook or an Android tablet, you've got them all in one single place. And today we find, especially in Windows 10, it's way too complex and way too costly. Nothing against System Center. SCCM is a good tool. But what we found, on average, when people are deploying these solutions today, it costs about $7,000 per endpoint per user, not because of the cost of SCCM, the licensing, it's all the servers and all the labor. We think we can take that down by 15 to 30% with the new way of doing this. So let's watch a little video of how we do this in the context of Windows 10. So here's my Windows 10 laptop. I open up Workspace ONE, just like you did with any other place. I log in, and this is a Windows 10 laptop now managed through Workspace ONE, access to all the apps, and by AirWatch, you have all of these applications. What I'm going to now do is bring up a specific Office 365 application, and I'm going to take security to a whole new level called conditional access. Here's my Office 365 spreadsheet. I'm going to try and copy and paste some text out of this spreadsheet and paste it into Twitter, okay? And you'll notice Office 365 is a managed application. Twitter is an unmanaged application. I bring up Twitter. I take my specific place, and I'm trying to copy information that's confidential. And as I try to do Control-V, it will tell me that I'm not allowed to do that. That's one form of conditional access. But let's take it a step further. Now I want to take my core same document, the Excel document, potentially on an iPad, if you would. So let's bring up the iPad here, and you'll see on this iPad that exact same Excel document. Let's open it up, if you would, and you'll notice here that Office 365 document, I've got a particular place I want to be able to store that document. So here's a place where I'm making an edit to the particular document that I have. I'm going to save it in my authorized place, which is OneDrive. And now let's say the person wants to try and save that same document into an unauthorized place, potentially Dropbox. Okay? I've been able to create specific conditional access policies so that I'm not allowed to save that document in other places. This is taking conditional access to a whole new level at the file level. But now let's take it even further, where I want to actually take this all the way into the network. So I'm going to take my iPad and a balanced scorecard, and I'm going to integrate with AirWatch integrated to NSX. You see the balanced scorecard. Here's per app VPN in the tunnel capability. And I've connected that balanced scorecard that's talking to 4 different parts of the data center simply and easily into NSX. So I'm able to now turn on and off through switches, if you would, simple and easy ways by which a particular part of the data center is now off. I try to basically turn the application back on, refresh the application, that particular part is turned off from me. I go back to NSX, if you would, and just like a simple light switch, this is what we call micro-segmentation. I can now turn back on that part of the data center, and now I have access. I go back to my iPad as I've turned that on, and perhaps now it's the CEO or maybe somebody inside the firewall, and voila, you see this now, it's simple and easy to work. Now, what we've done is actually taken this further and allowed you to integrate a security-based solution called Tanium inside TrustPoint so that you get very sophisticated security. I don't have time to show you all the capabilities of Tanium and TrustPoint, but I want to show you one screen of this and encourage you to go to our booth to see a lot more. So here in Tanium, I have, in TrustPoint, I have my query where I can type in all of the Windows applications that are running on Windows OS inside the company. We use TrustPoint inside VMware. You can see tens of thousands of potential applications. I can now do incident response. take specific actions, quarantine. More importantly, we've now hooked up TrustPoint to AirWatch. And what I want to do is take that same Windows 10 endpoint, and if you go forward now to the AirWatch console, I can tag a particular piece of quarantine information, and you can see now inside AirWatch, I'm now managing that same Windows 10 endpoint, and I can take all of the policies, blacklist applications, turn on and off things, just like you did with the phone, now with Windows 10. The combination of AirWatch and TrustPoint is an absolute game changer. So, as we wrap up here, folks, what I want to conclude with is the core goal of all of us needs to be bringing these two principles of consumer simplicity and enterprise security. That's what Workspace ONE is trying to be able to get done. I believe as we do this, and we allow all of you as end users in IT to prepare yourselves for the onslaught of applications that are going to be present in the mobile cloud world, you will be ready for tomorrow. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to pass the baton to the next speaker, our wonderful CTO, Ray O'Farrell. Ray?
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's a guy from Columbia Records out there. Good morning, everybody. It is great to be back here in Barcelona to meet old friends and to meet new partners and new customers of VMware. In this section, my colleagues and I are going to talk about the SDDC. And the SDDC is one of the key pieces of software that many have used to build your IT organizations and to really go through a digital transformation. You saw yesterday when Pat spoke about VMware Cloud Foundation. It was one of the pillars of the VMware Cloud vision. And at the center of VMware Cloud Foundation is, of course, the SDDC. And at the center of the SDDC is, of course, vSphere. Tens of thousands of you use vSphere to drive a successful business every single day. And rather than me telling you about vSphere, a product you're probably somewhat familiar with, instead I'm going to turn to a customer to tell us about their experience with this fantastic VMware product. So let's hear from a European customer, Leonardo, who leverages vSphere as part of their digital transformation.
To overhaul their existing data centers, industry leader Leonardo turned to VMware software-defined data center architecture, enabled by the vSphere platform and NSX.
Leonardo is a global high-tech player in aerospace, defense and security. The 3,000 servers that we have are virtualized using vSphere. The analysis that we have done led to a decision on having VMware as partner. The security is a key aspect today because it is increasingly becoming something that not just companies but also entire countries has to face. The next gen that we have to develop is the intelligence to avoid completely the attack, not just to put a patch after the attack. The implementation of VMware vSphere allowed us to create the software-defined data center. This suite, together with the implementation of NSX, allowed us to create an integrated security system that will serve and will give customers affordability and resilience for their process and their products. We are happy about this solution. Working together is helping us in the digital transformation of our customer and also of ourselves.
So we have just heard, We have just heard from Mr. Barahi, from Leonardo, that digital transformation is key to their business success. But digital transformation is not without challenges. When you go through a digital transformation, your organization has to deal potentially with an increasingly more complex environment. And this drives a need to be ever more efficient, a focus on the total cost of ownership of that environment. Your whole industry, your whole company is now based on this digital infrastructure, which means you need to be extremely careful and focused on maintaining a great security stance. You need to be able to deal with potential security threats. And of course, as you go through this transformation, you now have to run the existing applications of today but you also need to encompass those new applications, the cloud-native applications. And so you need a universal infrastructure which is able to support both the new apps and both the existing apps and those new services and new applications. And to meet the challenges that you see with digital transformation, you need some of the best infrastructure software in the world. And some of the best infrastructure in the world is, of course, vSphere 6.5. And I'm extremely proud to be introducing this product. We're going to learn a little bit about it over the next few moments and dive into some of the features of this new vSphere release. Let's take a look at the high level what some of the key tenets and the key features of vSphere 6.5. First of all, it directly takes on the challenges of digital transformation. It introduces new levels of automation and ease of use to drive a simplified user experience and a really great total cost of ownership. It has built-in security to protect your data, to protect the infrastructure itself, and to make sure that the access to that infrastructure is protected. And of course, it is a universal app platform supporting any application from your existing business-critical applications to your new cloud-native applications. Let's look at each of these features and each of these advantages in turn. First of all, we're going to take a look at how vSphere 6.5 enables a much simpler user experience. At the core of vSphere 6.5, there is the vCenter server appliance. This is now a fundamental building block of vSphere 6.5. And some of you may recognize this from earlier versions of our products. But this is now a much enhanced, integrated appliance with all of your vCenter components in one easy-to-manage virtual machine appliance. Let's take a look at some of the enhancements that have been made in this. First of all, it has built-in high availability. It is now native to the vCenter server. You can protect your vCenter product with a short return to operation of less than about 5 minutes. There is a focus on patching and lifecycle. When it comes to patching and updates, we have made it easier with this new simple appliance model. And of course, automation is key to being able to operate such a large piece of infrastructure. And we provide a whole new class of REST-based APIs to enable finer-grained control of your vCenter server. We also include a new tool here. It is called an API Explorer that makes it easy for you to interact with and experiment with the new APIs available in vSphere. And finally, there is a new migration tool that offers a quick and easy one-step upgrade to this new virtual center appliance model. However, a cloud-ready infrastructure must support great performance and scale. And with vSphere 6.5, we deliver. A key measure of the performance of how vCenter works is the number of operations that Virtual Center can handle per second. With vSphere 6.5, this is 6 times faster than what you were able to get in vSphere 5.5. And what does that really mean? Well, as a very simple example, it means you can power on about twice the number of VMs that you used to do so, say, in an hour over a given period of time, compared even to our most recent vSphere 6.0 products. And from a scale point of view, a single virtual center now supports 20,000 virtual machines. So we've both got superior performance and superior scale in this product. We've looked at how we drive automation and how we look at enhanced performance. But you have told us that for great ease of use, we need a new user interface. And this is probably one of my favorite features of vSphere 6.5. It is the new enhanced HTML5 vSphere client. The new HTML5 vSphere client embodies modern browser support. It focuses on responsiveness and focuses on ease of use. It is about 2 to 5 times faster than the original Flash web client. And something simple, say a basic login, that's about 5 times faster. That's the type of change you experience with this product. You know, this has been available actually as a fling and as a beta for many of you to use already. And you've been giving us some good customer response on this. Here's what some of the feedback you've given us on this product. Now, of course, there are thousands of new features. I'm sorry, there are hundreds of new features. Maybe there are thousands, but we won't get into that. There are thousands of new features in this release. And, you know, you should be able to get hold of the beta. You should, even better, go down to the hands-on labs here at VMworld and experience the new vSphere 6.5 product. That is the best way to see what many of these features are and really understand how they can be of value for you. For now, I am briefly going to touch on just a few of these. We're going to go through a number of demos, a small sampling of what the feature set of what this product really offers. So let's just jump straight into some demos. So first, we're going to focus on the whole area of the simplified user experience and automation. This tool that you see here is the new API Explorer. It is a new tool. It allows you to interact with and experiment with the APIs. So let's look at a very simple example. Let's say you want to provision a new virtual machine. Here we've got a little piece of JSON which describes the characteristics and parameters of that virtual machine. All you need to do is grab that, paste it directly into the Explorer, click the Try It Out button, and the Explorer will process that JSON code and provision your virtual machine back over on your vSphere environment. It is that simple. Let's jump back to the client and take a look at what that looks like back there. Sure enough, we should see our virtual machine here, the simple app 01 appearing. Of course, most of you are going to be building infrastructure which is far more complex than this. You're going to be provisioning full applications onto your vSphere infrastructure. So let's take a look at a more complex example. So say we're looking at a 3-tier app, a billing application, and we want to provision that on the vSphere infrastructure. This time we're going to use PowerCLI to do that. So you can see here we're executing a script. It is provisioning multiple copies of this application onto our infrastructure. What's interesting about this demo is not what's happening in the PowerCLI client. It's about what's happening over on the other window beside it. That's the HTML5 client. It is responding in real time. As the scripts are running, as the VMs are being created, the HTML5 client, with its responsiveness and new fast response, is keeping up and in real time letting you know what's going on with this system. Here we dive back into the client and you can see the various VMs that have been provisioned. We'll come back to this demo later. This is our billing application. We'll come back to this later when we look at some other features of vSphere 6.5. So, we've taken a look at this concept of automation and some of what goes on from a simplified experience point of view. Now let's take a look at security. With vSphere 6.5, you've got comprehensive built-in security. We focus on secure access. You've got multi-factor authentication. But one of the challenges you have when you encounter a security event, actually, Mr. Barahi mentioned this in the Leonardo video. When you encounter a security event, one of the things you need to know is what exactly has gone on. You need to be able to understand the forensics of that infrastructure. And it's vitally important to do so. And we've added audit quality logging, which really helps you find out who has made changes to the system or what changes have occurred in that system. We also focus on securing the infrastructure itself, with secure boot of the ESX host all the way through to the virtual secure boot of the guest OS. And of course, you have to secure the data. Compliance is essential, and that demands quite often data encryption or virtual machine encryption. With vSphere 6.5, we support virtual encryption of the VMs themselves while at rest, and even when the VMs are vMotioning across your network. Once again, let's jump in and take a look at a demo. So here we are once again in the same application. Just to prove that it still works, this is the vSphere web client. And even while we've introduced the new HTML5 client, we've also made significant enhancements to the web client. It is still available, it still works, still integrates into your existing vSphere system. Both clients are supported. here we're looking at that same application that we saw a few moments ago. And when we look at this, we see we have a number of applications and databases associated with the application. And we decide we want to encrypt this data. This is trivially easy with vSphere 6.5. All you do is select those virtual machines. You then go and apply a storage policy. And that storage policy says, I want these virtual machines to be encrypted. You select that. And in the background, you will now begin to see those virtual machines being encrypted. And you will notice that these virtual machines are both Linux and Microsoft virtual machines. The encryption mechanism does not require you to run agents inside in those guest OSs. No matter what the guest OS is, you can apply this underlying encryption technology. That's all there is to this demo. It is that simple to encrypt your VMs and the associated databases and files associated with those VMs using vSphere 6.5. So we covered a number of these security functionality. I've only focused primarily on the area of encryption here. But now let's take a look at the whole area of the universal platform, the ability to run these many different type of applications on your infrastructure. So with vSphere 6.5, we have added support for an increasing diversity of applications. And when I speak of diversity of applications, I don't just mean the new types of app like cloud native. We also recognize that your more traditional business-critical applications have also been growing in complexity and also have been growing in the scale and the demands that they are placing on your system. So with vSphere 6.5, we of course support the largest and most business-critical workloads, your Oracle database, your SQL, desktop virtualization, large Horizon environments, and of course, cloud-native applications. One of the key things to note here is the support for large in-memory databases. A few years ago, we had this concept of a monster VM, and it was a little bit of an advertising theme for us. And a monster VM was a 1 terabyte VM. With vSphere 6.0, we introduced a 4 terabyte VM. We did this for support of SAP HANA. Now here with VMware 6.5, or vSphere 6.5, we increased that to support 6 terabyte VMs, again with that focus on SAP HANA and other in-memory database technologies. So let's now take a look, however, at those other new types of applications, the cloud-native applications. And they're supported by the presence of vSphere integrated containers. So what exactly is vSphere integrated containers? It consists of a Docker-compatible container engine. It consists of a new component called Harbor. This is a container registry. It's an enterprise registry for securely storing container images with built-in RBAC and image replication. We also have another new component called Admiral, and this is a container management portal. This is a portal for the app teams to manage container repositories, images, hosts, and running container instances. Sounds like it's time for another demo. So let's take a look at vSphere integrated containers on vSphere 6.5. So here we've gone back to that same application that we were looking at earlier. But this time we've taken the application and it is running over on Amazon. This is VMware on AWS. So you can see you've got your on-prem data center and your Amazon data center showing up there on the left-hand side. It's the exact same virtual machines that we looked at earlier. And as we go through this demo, I should point out that even though we're demoing this, showing it executing on an Amazon data center, everything we do, you can do just the exact same way on your own on-prem infrastructure. So here, once again, these are the virtual machines associated with the application. And this time we've decided we want to add a mobile backend to this application. And we're deciding we're going to develop that using containers. So with vSphere integrated containers, we see this thing called a virtual container host. You can see it on the left-hand side, VCHO1. And that is what we're going to use to hold and represent the concept of containers in your VC environment. So now we want to provision these containers. And for this, we're going to use vRealize Automation 7.2. With vRealize Automation 7.2, you're now getting built-in container support over there as well. Of course, you could use Admiral, the product I referred to earlier, or any basically Docker-compatible tool to do this. Here we see the vSphere Realize Automation tool. And right now, you're in the service catalog. And on the top left-hand side, you see the billing mobile backend blueprint. Let's dive in and take a look at what's in there. So you can see, this is basically a very simple containerized application. It consists of a load balancer and then a number of Tomcat instances, each in their own Docker container. So this is the blueprint. Now we want to take this blueprint, which represents our application, and get it back onto our infrastructure. This, again, is trivially simple. You go back into vRealize Automation. We make a request to provision this blueprint, and it's as easy as that. This is now being placed back on the infrastructure, back over on vSphere, which in this case is on VMware on AWS. Let's jump back into the client and take a look at that. Here you can see those containers now visible inside in Virtual Center. And all of the usual things that you can do in terms of all of the usual things you can do with Virtual Center in terms of managing virtual machines, you now get to do with these containers. So you can look at some of the details, how are they, what they're doing, whether they're executing, etc. And one thing I do want to point out, you'll notice here that you see the VMware networking and you still see VMware vSAN within this. Even though these are containers, you get to leverage the normal vSphere infrastructure of networking and storage in this mix. Okay, let's return back to the slides. So we've just looked at how vSphere 6.5 truly delivers this concept of being a universal platform, one which is able to execute the most business-critical, largest applications, traditional style client-server applications, but also fully support the demands of your developers when you need to start running containerized and cloud-native types of applications. So broadly speaking, with vSphere 6.5, it is one of the most important infrastructure software out there because of its ability to really offer this universal way of running your infrastructure. Different types of applications across multiple different clouds. It delivers unparalleled value to enterprise IT. And over the years, it has created an ecosystem around vSphere. And there is equally a large ecosystem around vSphere 6.5. And not just a technology ecosystem, but one of partners. And in this release, we have focused on several very key things. One, driving the very best possible TCO, automation, ease of use. And we have focused on security and the ability to run any type of application. Lots of innovation right at the very heart of the SDDC, and we will continue to do that in this version of vSphere, and of course in future versions of vSphere. So vSphere, I said, is this key component of the SDDC. And that SDDC is a foundation element for a very broad ecosystem of partners. One of the key aspects of that ecosystem is, of course, our vCloud Air network. Over 4,000 service providers in over 100 countries leveraging vSphere to deliver great cloud experience and superior cloud economics to their customers, who in turn are VMware customers. So let's hear from one of those vCloud Air network partners, OVH. I'd like to welcome, please, the CEO of OVH, Laurent Allard, to join me. Hi, Laurent. How are you doing?
How are you?
Hey.
Good morning.
So, Laurent, it's great to have you here. Probably our largest vCloud Air network partner here in Europe. Yeah. A long-time partnership between VMware and OVH. And, we want to learn a little bit about what you are seeing out there in terms of how you are interacting with your customers. You're one of our largest vCloud Air partners, so you interact with a wide variety of VMware customers. Can you tell us about what type of use cases you're seeing? What are they using to run on vSphere leveraging OVH?
So we have seen many use cases, but let's focus on three very specific use cases. One is full migration, when you have a legacy and you migrate to the cloud VMware services. And to take an example, Villeroy & Bosch. Villeroy & Bosch They have, in the past, they had a series of legacy for their web services, the transaction all over the world, the e-commerce website, and they decided to transfer to OVH VMware as a service on SDDC. And it has been a success with performance, with security, and with a very significant cost reduction. That's one case, migration. But we have seen another case, which is hybrid. Those who have a legacy on VMware running well, but they need to face increase of capacity, requirement for CapEx, and they want to connect in an hybrid mode to a cloud provider to manage flexibility over time. And the example I will use is SNCF. VoyageSNCF.com, the ticketing subsidiary of SNCF, have variation of workload from the standard day to the peak from 1 to 5, 5x the peak of work they have to absorb. All of the peak is transferred to OVH data center, and it's unable to absorb the peak without extra CapEx. And this flexibility, security, has been a very significant decision driver for the decision. And the third case is native digital companies, those who have no legacy, and they start from scratch, but they want to have performance, they want to have security, and they want to have scalability. And to take one example, a fintech, TagPay, a company, a startup company specialized on payment via mobile. They have been able to use SDDC platform to build fast, to go fast on the market, and now they have deployed in 17 countries in Africa their mobile payment system without any interruption. So the scalability and security of the platform has been a very important driver.
Cool. These customers are leveraging your infrastructure, and you're leveraging a lot of VMware technologies to make that happen. Can you describe the capabilities of what OVH is able to do? You've got our technologies, you're building on that, but in terms of scale, everything, just broadly speaking, what are the capabilities?
So, in a short, at OVH, we have built this strategic relationship now seven years ago with VMware. It has been a long series of iterations to improve, to integrate all of the technology in a way which is easy to use for the client and cost-effective. Where we are today, 3,500 clients. It's about 200,000 VMs that we have running as a service. I think it makes the size quite significant, but we are just at the beginning of the significant increase of capacity. We have announced 10 new data centers in 10 new countries. The opening of 3 first has been done last week, Singapore, Australia, and Poland, and the rest is coming soon. East Coast for US, West Coast, UK, Netherlands, Spain, Italy are coming, and Germany are coming soon.
Cool. You described a little bit earlier about the customer use case and what they're doing with this technology, but they're leveraging the technologies of today. You heard yesterday, as Pat outlined, the broad VMware vision for cross-cloud environment and how we can bridge a really true and build a really new type of hybrid cloud.
Yes.
What do you think about that, and how is OVH going to leverage that and leverage those technologies in the future?
So what's happened today, it's quite unique in our industry. We spoke yesterday, and Pat, it was a great keynote about the transformation. But this transformation, it's a long journey. We are just at the beginning. We are just discovering what we can do with this technology. Just to give you a couple of key numbers. How many startups today are in the world thinking about the digital world of tomorrow? 180 million startups all over the world today are inventing the world of tomorrow. We have seen many of these startups using the technology on SDDC as a starting point to build a scalable solution. We have more than 400 startup companies in our program, Digital Launchpad. And we have seen more and more interest. So the bottom line is, it's our world. We can have many opportunities for all of us in terms of services, in terms of integration. What is important is the scale. All of that will lead to data. All of that will lead to new treatment, compute. And just to take one number, in 5 years from now, a car will produce 4 terabytes of data per day. 4 terabytes per day by car. If you think about how you leverage this data to create new services, insurance, maintenance, whatever, you need a huge capacity to have the cloud services, the storage, the compute, to take this data and to deliver a service at an attractive cost. So up to us now to do it the world is just at the beginning of this transformation.
Excellent. Thank you, Laurent.
Thank
you
you,
know, I'm
Ray.
looking forward to building more, solving real problems for our customers and working together with the new technology.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
So over the last few moments, we've heard a little bit about the power of SDDC. And of course, I have focused on that one core component of vSphere. And once again, I encourage you, if you haven't done so, get down to those hands-on labs. There's nothing like getting real-world experience with this technology. But of course, the SDDC is broader than just vSphere. It consists of NSX and virtual SAN. These are the two rising stars of the SDDC. And first of all, we're now going to dive into virtual SAN. And virtual SAN, in some ways, has a special place in my heart, because my first job here at VMware, many years ago, was to build the storage team. And little did I know that this would turn into a product such as we have today with vSAN, growing 200% year over year, a rapidly growing and exciting product. And all of this under Yanbing Li's leadership. And to tell us more, please welcome the Senior Vice President and General Manager of our Storage and Availability Business Unit, Yanbing Li. Thank you, Yanbing.
Thank you, Ray, for that wonderful introduction.
Thank you.
And good morning, Barcelona. It's great to be back here again on stage this year to talk about VMware's hyperconverged infrastructure solution powered by virtual SAN. I'll be introducing new innovation, some announcement, a demo, and how our customers are embracing the solution. Throughout the 2 days, you've heard about VMware's vision on the cross-cloud architecture. This, of course, requires a strong and proven storage foundation. Virtual SAN is directly implemented as part of vSphere. It powers the industry's leading hyperconverged infrastructure solution. And VMware's HCI, powered by vSAN, is providing that foundational building block to enable the software-defined data center and also extending it to the cross-cloud architecture. If you think vSphere has been your foundational block for your modern data center, now vSphere plus the power of vSAN, HCI, is becoming that new building block. We've been focusing on innovations for virtual SAN in 3 key areas. First, integration. A fully integrated software stack is essential to provide efficient performance, cost benefit, simplified user experience. And of course, vSAN is integrated directly as part of vSphere. And we're also providing the broadest set of hardware options for our customers. From all of the major OEM vendors, 16 hardware partners, more than 160 ready nodes. And if you're looking for simple deployment, you can also turn to the fully integrated VxRail appliance, co-engineered by VMware and EMC. The second area is management. You've asked us to make it faster, make it simpler, make it more responsive. So that's why we've been focusing on improving infrastructure management experience from day 0 to day 2. vSAN being integrated with vSphere, you can manage compute and storage together in an integrated experience through vCenter. We also provide policies and analytics that enables automation to further simplify and further providing the intelligence you need for modern management. The third area is about broadening our workload support. We've been focusing a lot on performance and resilience need to support the business-critical applications. We've also recently expanded vSAN to support modern next-generation applications, such as containerized application. As Ray mentioned, vSphere integrated container, the storage default is virtual SAN. And Kit will talk about later, vSAN is also part of the Photon platform, providing shared persistent storage for Photon. And with VMware's cross-cloud architecture, all of the proven capabilities in vSAN today extend into the cross-cloud. So how are we delivering these capabilities to you? Yesterday, we announced Virtual SAN 6.5. So this is the 5th edition of vSAN in only 2.5 years. And some of the examples of new capabilities in the release include the iSCSI support that allow you to broaden the type of workload you can use with vSAN, such as physical workload. We've also introduced a 2-node direct connect that can reduce your networking complexity and cost for especially your remote office implementation. We've also introduced a standard license support that enables you to run all-flash, so making it far more affordable for our customers. Obviously, our innovation doesn't just stop here. We actually have an unstoppable engineering team that always want to push the envelope forward. So what's coming after 6.5? We've recently launched a beta with some showcase of next-generation vSAN capabilities. So a few examples of that, again, we're introducing a software-integrated encryption capability for your data at rest. So you can have the comfort of knowing your data is safe and secure. We're further enhancing our resilience capability by introducing a nested fault domain that provides multi-layer protection for your stretch cluster. So with all these capabilities and the 5 generations of product we've been building, we've also seen tremendous customer adoption. In just 2.5 years, our customer has surpassed 5,000. And that makes vSAN the most widely adopted HCI solution out there. What's most exciting to me is that accelerated curve of customer growth. We're seeing vSAN is really crossing the chasm and going into mainstream usage. So 5,000 customers. Wow, that is a big number. And how are the customers using vSAN for? They're using it for a wide variety of use cases, from VDI to remote office, from test dev, DR, to business-critical applications. In a recent customer survey, we had 250 customers responded to this question. And they told us they're using vSAN for their business-critical application in a production environment. They're telling us they're running Microsoft, they're running SQL, Oracle, SAP, and et cetera. So rather than keep talking about these statistics, I think it's best for us to hear from a customer. So let me invite on stage our customer, Soren Vendler, IT enterprise architect from Co-op, to share with us their vSAN story.
Nice to meet you.
Soren, welcome.
Thank you.
So I know you and I have been talking about your experience using vSAN. Maybe starting talking about your company and what your team does.
I would like to do that. My name is Søren Vendler. I am enterprise architect in Coop Denmark. Along with a small team of colleagues, we take care of the strategic development of Coop's IT infrastructure. Coop is a large retail company, the largest in Denmark. We have 1,200 supermarkets in Denmark and Greenland and the Faroe Islands.
Okay. So tell us about how you're using vSAN, the type of deployment you have done, and the type of applications you're running on.
I'll be glad to. Well, we use vSAN for everything that can technically run on vSAN. We have absolutely no limits or barriers for what we will be using vSAN for. So 1,300 VMs are currently running on vSAN, and these systems cover every major business process in Coop.
Wow, that's great. I love the confidence you've shown. I know you and I were also chatting about our teenage kids and how you said it's much easier to manage vSAN than managing your teenage girls. So
Absolutely.
Tell us, what is the outcome you've seen after you've adopted vSAN? How it's helped your business?
Yeah, vSAN has helped our business in so many ways. I really consider bringing a list for today, but given that I need to focus on something, I think I would say that it's a huge cost saving it has given us. Actually, just for the money that we had put aside for maintaining the old server platform, we have actually been able to gradually spinning up the vSAN platform so that it now covers the entire enterprise. And for that money, we have gotten a more scalable and more resilient and much simpler to use server platform.
Wow, that's great to hear. Thank you so much, Jordan, for being here and sharing with everyone your experience. Thank you. So what a great story. I actually wanted to share this code when I talked to him, when we talk about the experience of managing vSAN. And he said, you know, it's much easier to manage vSAN than the teenage kids because vSAN is not spoiled. So, so we've done a lot of talking here. So how about we see vSAN in action through a demo? So let's switch to the demo. We continue with the new vSphere HTML5 client. And we have an on-premise data center, Ashburn. I have a CRM application that's currently running this data center that has 4 VMs. And my storage is on NFS store. And I'm running into some performance challenges with my application. And I would like to find a better place to run this application. So I do have another data center, another cloud that's available to me. This is a VMware cloud on AWS running in Oregon. So I would like to move my application from Ashburn to this Oregon AWS cloud. By now, you probably already get the idea that it won't be a VMworld demo without vMotion. So I'm going to vMotion my application from Ashburn to Oregon. But I'm going to do it in an even better way. My application is actually managed by vRealize automation. So I'm going to automatically perform this migration without having to click through many steps. So let's go to vRealize automation. And here, through the portal, through a single click, I'm going to change the storage policy for my application to a high-performance, low-latency storage policy. And that's going to orchestrate the move automatically for me. Let me go back to my vSphere client again. And here, checking the tasks, I can see my VMs are in the progress of being live migrated. And if I go back to my VM inventory, I can see that the 4 VMs associated with my CRM application is now in Oregon VMware Cloud on AWS. So that completes my demo. The demo seems to be very, very simple, really just a few clicks. But there is tons of technology and capabilities working behind the scene. And this is made possible only by the power of having NSX, vSAN, vSphere, and vRealize automation all working together. So the complete capability that made this possible. And who's the vendor that can do this for you today? Only VMware can. So I have shared a lot of the vSAN capabilities with you and also talk about how our customers are using it. With 5,000 customers, vSAN is a proven storage solution for your needs. And if you have an application that's running on vSphere, vSAN can be a great candidate. And with our cross-cloud architecture, we're expanding the same proven benefit into the public cloud. Now you can have the benefit of the both worlds and with a common operating experience that you already are familiar with. So vSAN is proven ready for your needs today and also is ready to scale for tomorrow. It's been a pleasure speaking to all of you. Let me invite Rajiv Ramaswamy, the head of our networking and security business unit, to join me on stage.
Hey, thank you, Yanbing.
Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning. You heard from Pat and Guido yesterday about how VMware enables you cloud freedom and control, the ability to run, manage, connect, and secure applications on premises, in the public cloud, both on VMware stacks and non-VMware stacks. As IT professionals, your challenge is to evolve your networking and security architectures to enable you to run these applications anywhere. That's why network virtualization is relevant and critical for every one of you and needs to be an integral part of your environment going forward. Now, we all know that data center infrastructure is transitioning from a hardware-oriented infrastructure to a software-driven infrastructure. We drove this with server virtualization. You heard from Yan Bing about how we're driving this with software-defined storage and vSAN. And perhaps the last part of the data center to be virtualized is the network. And we're driving that with NSX. The opportunity is massive. Network virtualization has made that journey, the rare journey from academic concept to mainstream adoption today. In the past 18 months, we've grown our customers by more than 400%. As of the middle of the year, we had 1,700 customers who are already with NSX. You in the audience who've already joined us on this journey, thank you. For the rest of you, let me invite you to all join us on this wonderful journey. So let's talk about the challenges that you face today. You're concerned about securing your data center. You're concerned about automation. You've got a mandate to automate and speed up the provisioning of your applications. You also continue to struggle with ensuring application availability. So let's start with the first challenge, security. The average cost of a data breach can be up to 4 million euros. Now, many data breaches can cost you a lot more than that. In fact, some recent cases, numbers have been as high as 1 billion euros. With microsegmentation, this is an amazing new technology that's been pioneered by NSX. With microsegmentation, it's as if each application gets its own firewall. That's pretty powerful. Challenge number 2, automation. It's a business imperative for you. The problem is traditional networking can slow you down by weeks or months to turn up new applications. With NSX, you can deliver networking and security at VM speeds. Challenge number 3, if you're unprepared when a disaster hits you, it hits both your reputation and your bottom line. With NSX, your networking and security are always on. So how are your peers solving these problems with NSX? Let's start with one of Italy's oldest banks, Banca Popolare di Sondrio. When they rolled out their SDDC, microsegmentation was a security imperative for them. Pier Giorgio, who's the head of their infrastructure, says, our organization is more secure than ever with NSX. We know that with the business, we can keep internal and customer data safe and secure. The bank is continuing to expand on their deployment of NSX in their environment. Automation. At London Capital Group, NSX is used for distributed load balancing and to automate a wide variety of networking functions. And it's been a game-changing thing for them from a management perspective. Their CIO, Blair Wright, talked about how NSX was just critical for the new trading platform that they just launched. Now, lastly, let's look at Kuwaiti National Petroleum Corporation. What have they done with NSX behind them? So KNPC couldn't really fully achieve the benefits of a private cloud without first virtualizing the network. They have 3 data centers, and by using NSX, they're able to create a unified pool of resources across all of these 3 data centers and use them to the fullest extent possible. That's awesome. Now, Abdul Aziz, who's the head of IT at KNPC, believes that service delivery will be 70% faster and resource utilization 3 times better by using NSX and network virtualization. In fact, as customers have initially deployed NSX for one particular application, they see that they can use NSX for solving a wide variety of other problems that they face. These use cases expand. For example, they're addressing issues such as securing their end users, whether they be on virtual desktops or mobile, looking at how to virtualize their branch and remote offices, looking at enabling developer clouds, just to name a few. Now, let's hear from one of our customers, Helvetia Insurance, about how they're using NSX to solve their problems.
When it comes to security, trust is everything. To better serve 4.7 million customers worldwide, Helvetia Insurance puts its trust in VMware NSX Network Virtualization Platform.
We started this transformation, the journey with VMware 2010, and actually NSX is the last step in a virtualized infrastructure. Insurance business is a business that is based on trust. We can't risk an insecure environment. We have a lot of security zones. For this, IT infrastructure needs to be able to deliver anytime. We need to have a close IT business alignment and continuously improve security. To summarize, what VMware NSX has given us is no readdressing of IP, automation of security zones, and the management of microsegmentation. This integrated solution is currently covering just the Helvetia private cloud, but it's also the base to get use of external services, external clouds, and using the same tool, the same process, same service. I'm always able to deliver.
So Michael from Helvetia may have said it best. As he puts it, I'm always able to deliver. That's what he was able to do with NSX, and so can you. Now, as I've talked to many of you, you like the concepts in terms of what NSX can do for you, but then you're kind of wondering, how can I deploy this? How can I operate this? And where do I get started with this? So to do that, what we're going to do now is to walk you through the full life cycle of deployment, from start to finish, or how you can operationalize NSX in your environment. To do that, I'd like to welcome Jacob Rapp on stage. Jacob is our Director for Technical Product Management. Jacob, welcome.
Hi, Rajiv.
Welcome.
Thanks.
So, what are we going to show them?
Sure. So what we're hearing from our customers is that they seem to understand the benefit of microsegmentation and what NSX brings, but they're still challenged with going from their current unsecured infrastructure to one secured by microsegmentation. So we've identified 4 simple steps to help along the way: assess, plan, enforce, and monitor. So the first step, even before you get NSX installed, you can utilize a tool called vRealize Network Insight to analyze the traffic patterns in your actual environment. And this is all nicely delivered in a pre-assessment report.
So all of you can actually look at this free pre-assessment tool. Please talk to your salesperson about this. And now let's sort of move to the next step and talk about the actual planning.
Sure, of course. So let's hop into the demo. So in the demo, the first step, of course, we've got to get NSX installed. So here we're looking at an early tech preview of our microsegmentation planning tool built directly within the NSX UI within the vSphere web client. And the core concept in planning is to gather all the traffic flows so that we can analyze them to create a microsegmentation plan. So here, we actually already have captured traffic flows for our sample SAP application, so let's analyze. So in real time, all these flows will get collapsed down into patterns where we can group them into common security groups, which become our simple set of security policies for our application. And then from there, we can actually click in and visualize this in what we call an application map, made up of the virtual machines, the security groups we've just created, and the traffic flows between them. And this becomes our microsegmentation plan.
So once you deploy NSX there, you can automatically look at your applications and then create a plan for microsegmentation.
Yeah.
Now, how do you go deploy that and enforce that inside the network?
Sure, Rajiv. That's actually a really easy step. So right in the same tool, we can click on Create New Rules. And then our policies get transferred down into the Firewall tab, which we can then apply down into our infrastructure. And that's it. Our application is secured with microsegmentation.
So that simple as clicking a button and just pushing the rules into the network for enforcement.
Yeah, it's really that easy.
So great. So you've seen how you can plan and deploy microsegmentation inside the network. Now, the final piece of this is once you've got it deployed, how do you troubleshoot it? How do you monitor your environment? So let's talk about that.
Sure. So let's actually go into the tool now that we talked about earlier for our pre-assessment, vRealize Network Insight. And one of the common challenges we keep hearing is that looking for a specific firewall rule within the infrastructure is like trying to find a tiny needle in a haystack. So we created a simple Google-like search experiences, which looks in all of our infrastructure, both the physical and the virtual. So we've been able to find that needle. And you mentioned troubleshooting as well. So troubleshooting, the key concept in troubleshooting is really about visibility. And when we look at vRealize Network Insight, we're able to gather all the data sources from both our virtual and our physical all in one place to create an exact end-to-end path from one virtual machine to another, from the VM down through the NSX components and into our physical environment, our switches, routers, firewalls, and back to our final destination VM.
Very cool, Jacob. I mean, this is really powerful. So what you've seen is the end-to-end deployment from the initial assessment all the way to deployment and then troubleshooting and monitoring of microsegmentation in your environment. So thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
Thanks. So let's talk a bit about the future and where you're headed. Your goals really haven't changed. You're still concerned about security of apps and data, securing your infrastructure, making sure your applications are always available, and making sure they can be delivered quickly. But a lot of things are changing around you. Your infrastructure is changing. You may be running applications on-prem or in the cloud. Application frameworks and architectures are changing. You may be containerizing some of the newer applications that you guys are developing. And finally, user behavior and security threats constantly changing. Now, regardless of where you run your application or what form you run them in, we'll be there with you to help manage, speed up, and secure those applications. That's the vision for NSX. Now, let's now hear live from one of our customers, Amadeus. They're a leader in global travel technology. I'd like to welcome Dr. Wolfgang Krips, who's the EVP at Amadeus, on stage.
Hello.
Wolfgang, welcome.
Hey,
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So perhaps you can start by talking a little bit about Amadeus and what your priorities are.
Okay. Let's say Amadeus is an IT solutions provider for the travel and transportation industry, and we're doing a variety of things. But noteworthy are two big businesses. One is our reservation business, which enables travel agencies, online travel agencies, and airline websites to do bookings. It's a high-volume transaction business with up to 22,000 business transactions per second, and the internal transaction rate is obviously much higher. The second business that we're doing is basically providing IT solutions for the operational processes of airlines, so check-in, boarding, baggage tag printing. And our solutions basically do the same thing to those processes what SAP solutions do for finance and HR processes. And we're boarding through our solutions about 1 billion passengers per year.
That's pretty big. So what was the first use case for deploying NSX?
So we came into NSX through a project in the hospitality industry, and we had such stringent SLA requirements that basically we not only had to automate the deployment, but also a large part of the operations. So we're doing this through a modified Red Hat OpenShift layer on top of VMware's OpenStack distribution VIO. And that has in its belly NSX to solve the security, automation, and business continuity problems that you're having in such a context. And by the way, if you want to know more about this, there's tomorrow a breakout session. What's remarkable about this environment is that we're deploying from this OpenShift layer containers directly into VMs. And for the work that we had been doing there, We got this year's Red Hat Innovator Award of the Year, and we're very proud about this.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now, you're expanding your deployment here of NSX in your environment, right? So can you talk about that?
So obviously, the question is, what's the next step? Clearly, with this automated environment, we want to increase the footprint. So what we're doing is we're increasing the footprint in the data centers, but we have already a substantial amount of traditional, quote-unquote, vSphere, VMware, ESX deployments, and we're putting NSX below there in order to put this also under the control of this Amadeus Cloud Services environment.
So you've been a leader in adopting new technologies, containers, which are already running, and moving to the public cloud. Can you talk about where you're going in the future?
We will be moving into the public cloud. We're actually deploying already in the public cloud. For instance, for Google, we're deploying in Google, and we can do this through this open stack layer and the Amadeus Cloud Services that are sitting on top, because the Amadeus Cloud Service layer is infrastructure agnostic. We can work on Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. And we're deploying because most of the, let's say, we're deploying because we're having response time problems. And the response time problems basically require us that we're physically deploying close to where the customer is.
Excellent. You know, Wolfgang, this is just fantastic. You actually really have explored all the use cases for NSX and deployed them in your environment. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here on stage and joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
That's great. Thank you. So you've heard how NSX solves a number of critical problems for you today. You've seen how it can be easily deployed and operationalized in your environment. NSX is foundational for your infrastructure. You've heard from many customers, including Amadeus, and you'll hear from others at the show about how they're all using NSX. We're on a journey with them as they move across cloud and to new application architectures. I invite you, all of you, and every single one of you, to join us on this NSX journey. Thank you. I'd now like to welcome Kit Colbert, who's the CTO for our Cloud Platforms business unit, on stage. Kit?
Rajiv.
Welcome, Kit.
Thank you, sir.
Take it away.
Appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. So let's talk about containers. Now, as you guys know, modern applications are increasingly being built using containers. How many folks here have Docker running somewhere in their environments? Show of hands. All right, by my rough count, it's about 2,873 of you guys. So right, we're seeing that it's really getting out there, right? It's in every organization. Now, the good news is that we at VMware have two different solutions to help you out with running containers in production. Ray already talked about vSphere integrated containers. So I want to focus on our other product, Photon Platform. Now, Photon Platform is specifically focused on non-vSphere environments. So when we talk to customers who are looking at doing containers in non-vSphere environments, they run into a few different challenges. Some folks are looking at public cloud. And as you know, the challenges with public cloud are around cost, security, compliance. These are the common things that they see. So they start asking themselves, how can I do this on premises? And it turns out the challenges on premises are also there, but they're different. You know, folks might look at OpenStack or maybe a bare metal solution, and the challenges there are how they build an end-to-end integrated stack. You know, they take the operating system, the hardware management, the container scheduler, network, and storage. How do they put that all together? How do they wrap around that all of their enterprise requirements for day two operations? Things like monitoring, backup, disaster recovery. And finally, how do they deliver it all as a service? How do they give that public cloud experience, but from their own data center? And the reality is there's a lack of good solutions out there today, and that's exactly why we built Photon Platform. So if you think about Photon Platform, it really is about giving that public cloud experience from your own data center to your development teams. Photon Platform is an end-to-end cloud-native stack. Has a very simple out-of-the-box experience, right? Very easy to get started. We have all those day two operational capabilities built in. And of course, we allow you to deliver different container schedulers as a service. So let's double click in and see what this architecture looks like. So it starts out with flexible and full lifecycle management of the hardware. We layer compute, network, and storage on top of that and really turn that into giant fabrics using some of the software-defined data center components you know, ESXi, NSX, and virtual SAN. Now, interestingly, with Photon Platform, there's no vCenter in this architecture. Instead, we have a different multi-tenant control plane called Photon Controller. And what Photon Controller does is expose an API with a bunch of developer services that the application teams can access via that API. And of course, those teams are accessing that in a multi-tenant, fully isolated, and secured fashion. Now, as we talked about last year and earlier this year, there's two different editions today of Photon Platform. A free edition, which is out on GitHub. I highly encourage you to go check it out right now or at some point in the future. We also have an edition together with Pivotal called the Pivotal VMware Cloud Native Stack. And what that does is combines Photon Platform with the industry's leading cloud-native application platform, Pivotal Cloud Foundry, to an end-to-end integrated stack. Very cool stuff. But as we talked to customers, they wanted more. They wanted more choice, especially in the app frameworks. And one they talked about a lot was Kubernetes. So if you haven't heard of Kubernetes, it's a project, open source project, built out originally by Google. And it really focuses on providing an environment for the deployment and management of containerized apps. Super popular, right? And it does a lot of stuff. It does things like application availability, lifecycle, service discovery, scaling, network request routing, all sorts of cool stuff. So today we're excited to announce a new edition of Photon Platform that delivers Kubernetes as a service. And when I say as a service, I mean it's super easy for developers to go and get started using it. They don't need to know the internals of Kubernetes. They don't need to go figure out how to set it up. They can click a couple of buttons and get it. And Kubernetes is enhanced with all the capabilities of Photon Platform, things like multi-tenancy, security, resource management, network and storage capabilities. And we offer an end-to-end turnkey solution with commercial support for both Linux and Kubernetes. Pretty cool, huh? Let's check out a demo and see what it looks like. OK, so here we are in Photon Platform. Now, I'm a developer, and I'm working on behalf of our marketing team writing an app for them. So we can see here I can go into the marketing tenant, and I can drill into one of the projects we're working on. Now, what I want to do here is create a new Kubernetes cluster. So it's just a few simple clicks. Again, this is Kubernetes as a service. It means I don't need to know all the specifics of how to create Kubernetes, how to provision the VMs, what OS to use, how to connect them all up over the network, how to configure etcd. I don't need to worry about any of that stuff. I just need to do some basic specifications, and I'm off and running. So we can see that cluster is now being created. OK, that'll take a couple of minutes. So while that happens, let's go to one we've already created. And when we take a look at it, we can see a bunch of different VMs here, network settings, so on and so forth. Now, if we go in, we can actually go to the Kubernetes UI. This is something that I, as a developer, use to provision my application. Kubernetes is running on top of Photon Platform, and I'm using Kubernetes to provision my app. So here we go. Again, a couple of simple clicks, and my app is off and running on Kubernetes. And I can use Kubernetes to see what's going on with that application, all the details of it, the specifics around IP address and settings, all that good stuff. And so we can see here, all these application instances have now been provisioned and are up and running on top of Photon Platform. So let's go back to the Photon Platform UI. Not only does Photon Platform do initial provision of Kubernetes, it also does day 2 services. So I can go in here and resize the Kubernetes cluster. Kubernetes does scaling of the app, but at some point, Kubernetes might run out of capacity, right? It only has a certain number of nodes. So here I can increase the number of worker nodes to give Kubernetes more capacity. A few simple clicks. Photon Platform takes care of all the VM provisioning, network creation, storage management, etcd reconfiguration, all that fun stuff. Great. So that's the experience as a developer. Super, super simple. Now let's switch gears and look at it from the admin's perspective. So here I'm an admin back in Photon Platform. I can see this marketing tenant. I can go in and get a similar view to what we just saw from the developer. But here's the thing. With the admin, I'm not talking about or thinking about provisioning an app. I'm thinking about how to make that app run in production. So key production capabilities, networking and security. We can go over to NSX. We now have NSX connected into Photon. So if we drill into NSX, we can now get full visibility into these Kubernetes instances that are running. We can see all the different VMs that were created, all the different components of Kubernetes. We can manage those within NSX, create our switches, networks, firewalls, all that great stuff, the full power of NSX here. OK, so let's switch back to Photon. Now, marketing is just one tenant, right? And the real power of Photon Platform is the fact you can have many tenants all using and sharing this infrastructure simultaneously, but doing so in a highly secure and isolated manner. So we can see all these different tenants here. I've given them different sets of resources. They can use those resources as they see fit, creating new Kubernetes instances or Cloud Foundry instances as they want. But here I can go and create a new tenant. So this one will be for our operations team. And here I can carve out a set of resources for that tenant to use. You notice, as a developer, when I created that Kubernetes cluster, I didn't need to get approval from anyone. The admin had already given me a set of resources within Photon Platform, and then I was able to self-service manage and provision those resources on my own, not needing to file a ticket, not needing to go to talk to anyone. I could just go and do it. So here we can click OK and create that new tenant, and it's off and running. Now the operations team has capacity and can start using it to do what they need to do with their applications. So that's Photon Platform. It really is giving that public cloud experience on premises, so you get the great agility and delivery as a service. So let's switch back to the slides. Now, if we look at the Photon Platform architecture again, we can kind of see how these different parts and the roles they played. Talk about NSX. We didn't show virtual SAN, but you can see how storage management becomes really important here as well. We looked at Photon Controller and that rich API set, the ability to deliver Kubernetes as a service. Not only initial provisioning, but also scaling up, scaling down, handling failures, doing all sorts of great stuff. You also saw the multi-tenant aspect. Multiple tenants running simultaneously, but also independently for that public cloud experience on premises. So now we have 3 different editions of Photon Platform. We have the free tier, which we already talked about. We have a new version of the pivotal VMware Cloud Native Stack coming out this quarter, version 1.1. And we have a new edition, Photon Platform with Kubernetes and NSX with end-to-end support. So that was just a quick look at Photon. And as we talked about before, Ray talked about vSphere integrated containers earlier. But there's a tremendous amount of content on Cloud Native here at VMworld. So please go to that URL. You can see everything that's happening this week. Moreover, everything we're doing is out in the open, available as open source on our GitHub. URL's right there. So again, please go check that out. Now, Cloud Native is just one part of a much broader vision that we've shared over the past 2 days at these keynotes, our any cloud, any application, any device vision. It started out yesterday with our cross-cloud architecture that Pat and Guido talked about. Heard about VMware Cloud Foundation, a very exciting announcement about VMware Cloud and AWS, as well as our cross-cloud services. Today we follow that up, end-user computing, network, storage, management, Cloud Native, a ton of content. But really, what's happening here in the keynote is just the tip of the iceberg. There's an absolute amazing amount of content throughout the week here at VMworld. So I highly encourage you, go check out the breakout sessions, take the hands-on labs, participate in the group discussions, network with your 10,000 closest friends here, and take that information back home with you, back to your company, so you can prepare both yourself and your organization to be tomorrow. Thank you guys so much. Have a great conference.